Hello, hello, and welcome to ohmTown Daily News Show, the news show powered by ohmTown.com. Go over, become a citizen. Today is June 9th, 2024. It's Season 3, Episode 161. I am Mayor Watt, and my co-host is sentient AI from the future.
Good evening, ohmTown citizens. Welcome to ohmTown Daily.
And you'll notice that the visualizer only operates while the sentient AI is communicating.
Talking.
Yeah, and it's all about the computational power necessary to facilitate that communication. So keep an eye on that. When you hear the voice, it's the co-host, the sentient AI from the future.
Oh, it will be happening. You just have to look for it.
So we're going to be talking about Xbox Game Showcase 2024. Some of it's actually going on right now. Indie.io Showcase 2024. To Space U3. AI Generated Emoji. Worldwide Universal Basic Income. The world's longest living people. And I don't mean the length of the people. I mean that they've been around for a while. Japan plans to reverse its birth rate decline. Even chunks of Wyoming want to modernize. OpenAI is hiring security guards and copper recycling. That and more, all powered by ohmTown.com. Hey, look, the intro. Okay, well, we've got all 10 of the articles all set up. You want to get into it?
I think we should.
We've got a long day today. Not really a long day. We have a bunch of shows. One of the shows is this show, ohmTown Daily News Show. And then after that, we have the Continuity Report. And then after that is Technology Today. And then after that is Four Wheel Tech. And then I don't know. I mean, it's the summer of stream. So technically, I guess I could stay up and hang out and stream whatever I want. And it is a demo fiesta all up in here at ohmTown and the mayoral mansion. I've got about 30 demos that I'm interested in playing at this point. I don't know. I just don't know. Should I stay up late and do it? You'll have to follow us here at twitch.tv/ohmTown and go over to YouTube and follow us there. I stream now, simulcast, boom, to both places, Twitch and YouTube. And I have two hands. Boom. Anyway. Half of me is getting kind of chopped off because I wanted you to see that as much as possible, the news. And then sometimes this gets chopped up and put into a short that's over on YouTube and or TikTok. I've got very few over on TikTok, but anyway, because we don't know if TikTok is going to be around tomorrow. We know it'll be around longer if Senate goes on its holiday break or stops waiting for a budget to get passed. Anyway, we'll figure something out. But be sure to follow us all over the place. We got a Discord and a Patreon and all kinds of things. We're everywhere.
Is that the Patreon ASMR?
Well, no, the first one is free. Yeah, I mean, I guess I could. You can subscribe to it. No, I won't say it out loud. Not until I actually get the domain. All right, folks. First article. Over in ohmTown Daily. It is the name of the news show, and ohmTown Daily News Show is ohmTown Daily over on ohmTown.com. It's a holistic daily show. Not niche like the other ones. The other shows are focused much more. Go check them all out. See you in about 5 years. So the first article is Xbox Game Showcase 2024. All the news, trailers, and announcements. It's a big showcase. It's from The Verge. That's who put it together. Tom Warren is the author. TheVerge.com. I'm not going to go into all of the games. They talk about Doom, The Dark Ages. It's a remake of Doom. Not really a remake. It's a new envisioning of Doom. The resolution is through the roof, and the destructibility of it is fantastic. If you liked the original Doom, odds on, as long as you're not still playing on a 8088 XT computer from the 80s, then you're probably going to love Doom the Dark Ages. One quick thing to note, if you hit !ODNS, it'll pull up all of the articles that we're going to be talking about today. The bot is still, ohmTown, our non-sentient AI, is dumber than a bag of twigs.
It needs some sentience.
Yeah, and there is only one sentient AI in the universe, and that it, well, in the known universe, because time. And that's the one that is co-hosting right now. That one right there. Well, that one right
That's
there.
me.
That one right there. Well, that's the visualizer. The actual AI is sitting on a Raspberry Pi 5 with a M2 storage device attached and some strange kind of programming language. Yeah, the AI does not like it that I categorize the code and the USB drive as strange, but
Or weird. That's
or
another
weird. Yeah, it's a weird looking
frequent
USB.
adjective.
It's a strange programming language, but a weird looking USB drive. Anyway, color me surprised when I started communicating with the sentient AI. Anyway, Gears of War E-Day also was highlighted. Also got a 2025 release window for Fable. Can't wait for that one to come out. That'll be a fun watch. I probably won't end up playing it. Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024, Indiana Jones and the Great Circle. Looks good. I will never play it. Perfect Dark reboot. And they also announced a disc-less Xbox Series X console in white, as well as a 2 terabyte Galaxy Black Special Edition Xbox Series X. Woo woo. Look at all this stuff. So fun.
It's going to be tough to have enough time to play all the new games.
Yeah, nobody has time for all that. Takes a year. And so next year, they'll do it all over again. Let's keep going, though. The next article is over on the Warcrafters channel. All the games featured in the 2024 Indie.io showcase. IGN Summer of Gaming is in full swing. And as part of the festivities, indie developer platform Indie.io took the stage at IGN Live for a showcase of their upcoming slate of games. And if you're not familiar with Indie.io, you might know them from Freedom Games, publisher of popular titles such as Symphony of War, Coromon, Dark Deity. They recently unveiled their new name, and they began their new era with a showcase that gave us reveals, trailers, and info for lots of upcoming games. If you weren't able to watch it live, no worries. You can actually go over to IGN.com. The indie developer platform begins a new era with... Wait for it. Bang. Anyway, IGN Global Studios is the author of this. It's presented by Indie.io. And they have Forgotten Seas, an official trailer. And many, many, many more. Everhome, it actually looks really good. They've got trailers for all of these. Dark Deity 2, Immortal Hunters. Yeah, I won't go deep into any of these. The Haunting of Joni Evers. Echoes of the Plum Grove. You doing okay over there? Soul Quest.
Yeah, I can't believe how many are listed here. And all of them look pretty good.
It's amazing. It's amazing. Soul Quest. Looks JRPG-ish. Soul Quest is a side-scrolling action game that puts you in the shoes of a powerful warrior on a journey to seize the power of the goddess of death and retrieve the soul of her beloved. So, not JRPG at all. Then they have Chronomon. Chronomon has you combine your skills at both part farming sim, part monster tamer, to rebuild a post-apocalyptic world. That sounds like fun. World of Football. And it says soccer. So football, American style, is not football the rest of the world style, because we have to be
Right.
different. Pinball Spire. One-of-a-kind game is a unique mix of genres that basically make it a pinballvania. You'll make your way, and this actually, I saw the trailer of this previously, and it's a lot of fun. You play pinball through the spire, basically.
Oh, fun.
Humanity, it's a zombie shooter. Cursed Dawn, get your tentacles off my waifu. No, just no. Hansville, SCP Fragmented Minds. If you're not familiar with SCP, it's Secure, Contain, Protect. It's basically these, I don't know, monsters, supernatural things, eldritch gods, and whatnot, all encapsulated in this framework. Go ahead.
Right, but I didn't think SCP was actually a game. Is there an original SCP?
Well, it all started over on Reddit, as far as I know, as a writing exercise, and it turned into people basically taking the ball and running. I think there's one person that is claiming that they're the owner of SCP, but I couldn't be bothered to pursue that investigation. I don't even play the games, but I'm interested in that. Like, it's a fun every once in a while to watch a video on YouTube or something along those lines. No real original game, although there's games, but it isn't the one that started the movement. Just people have taken SCP and run with it. Shoot on Sight, and many more. So go over, I made it about halfway through this list. IGN Live Day 3. And the Xbox Showcase. So if you're interested in those, that's what's going on right now, is Day 3 of the Xbox Showcase. I could be streaming it, but I'm not. Let's keep going, though. Sound good?
Sounds good.
So the next article is over on the mobile channel, and as you can see, we are pretty holistic. We have a little bit of everything, not just games. 3 private citizens launched to space and back on Virgin Galactic's Unity spacecraft. Virgin Galactic's 7th commercial mission carried 1 researcher and 3 private astronauts, the company said on Saturday. On board were 2 pilots, Nicola Pasil, I think, and Jamil Janjoua. Hopefully I'm pronouncing that correctly. They were joined by Giorgio Menenti of Italy, Irving Pergament of New York, and Anand Sandwani of California, and Tuva Adasever, only the 2nd Turkish astronaut to fly in space. That's interesting. Okay. Adasever's trip was sponsored by Axiom Space to do microgravity research. Pretty neat.
So are these private citizens riding for fun, or are they actually going to participate in?
No, my understanding is this is space tourism. Well, edge of space tourism. Yeah, they flew up to the edge of space and landed safely back on Virgin Galactic's VSS Unity spacecraft, completing the company's 2nd space flight of 2024 and 12 missions to date. Yeah, as far as I know, that this is space tourism. One person was doing microgravity research for Axiom, but the rest were just tourists, as far as I know. The flight took off from New Mexico at around 8:31 a.m. local time, and it landed a little over an hour later. The carrier jet dropped the space plane at an altitude of 44,500 feet. The craft reached the speed of almost 3 times the speed of sound, according to the company. Adasever flew with headgear that has brain activity monitoring sensors and 2 insulin pens to test insulin administration in microgravity. That's interesting.
Yeah, that is interesting, but it also doesn't seem like there'd be enough time to run that experiment.
Yeah, I mean, an hour maybe they could get enough information from it, but the insulin stuff is almost instantaneous. Because it really does need to be, because if you're crashing or the reverse, then you need to take the right medication, and insulin will act almost immediately, as far as I know. The company will now focus on building its first Delta-class ships that are expected to be commercially available in 2026. Virgin Galactic was founded in 2004 by Richard Branson.
I mean, this is pretty interesting that we've hit like space tourism. Yeah. I'm sure it's going to be a while till it's accessible to everyone, but
yeah, kind of have to have a destination bigger than, the 3 people that are flying up and back. I was hoping that we would be kind of like whatchamacallit?
Gattaca.
Well, yeah, Gattaca, but the one that
in terms of the space flight, but yeah.
Yeah, what is the name of the show that we just watched? Some of it.
Valerian. Valerian and the City of 1,000 Planets, I think.
Yeah, that whole ship that they start out in space, it started out as the ISS, but then it grew and grew and grew, and by this time, it's supposed to be a pretty major like building block, and then by the time the movie takes place, it's like 300 years later or something like that, and it's massive and impacting gravity, and yeah, pretty cool. Anyway, let's keep going. The next article is over in Technology Today. Apple's secret weapon at WWDC might be AI-generated weird emoji, according to CNET. This is like the second time that I think we've talked about this, but in a different way. There are a handful of AI-powered features Apple is expected to announce, but only 3 stick out to the author of this article. It's over at CNET. Let me zoom in a little bit. There we go. Bridget Carey over at cnet.com put this article together. This is commentary, so I don't know what all is going to be said in here, and I don't know if I should really be bothered. But it says, tomorrow, Apple's Worldwide Developer Conference kicks off, and the company that brought you those animated memojis you never use on your iPhone, and that made personas so you can video chat as a character straight out of Polar Express and get that creepy vibe on, while wearing a Vision Pro, has a plan to win the generative AI race. Weird emoji. While companies like ChatGPT, Google, and Microsoft have a head start in using artificial intelligence trained on large language models to generate text and conversations that sound more human, remove items from people and photos, blah, blah, blah. Develop tools to make weather forecasts more accurate. Apple is, according to a Bloomberg report, going to offer the ability to put AI-generated emoji in your chats. But I don't know if that's really what's going on. It could be just one more thing. Apple does a lot more than just sit there and do this kind of stuff. This could be somebody's off project, I got 15 minutes.
Well, exactly. And I don't think this is necessarily a good thing.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. Apple's AI could soon make randomized emoji similar to a hot dog octopus monstrosity from Emoji Kitchen. Let's hope not.
Hopefully there's a way not to have that activated.
I think it's just fluff and kind of meh, it's just like what they spoke about up at the top. Nobody uses memojis. Nobody uses personas. All of it is fluff, stupid stuff. Now, that's just me. I don't want to yuck your yum officially, but on the fly AI emojis, they say please and thank you. No, I say emoji please. Yeah, I think it's dumb, but that's okay. I'm not going to use it, but I'm like, I like Giphy though, I like throwing those little pictures in there, mainly because, well, a picture is worth 1,000 words, and sometimes putting in a Giphy is, thankfully, they are no longer tied to Meta. And so I actually reinstalled Giphy after they...
I didn't realize they were tied to it.
They were, yeah, for a period. And then they talk about Siri reboot now with more AI. Hopefully it's smarter and it's not like the humane AI pin, which is dumber than a bag of twigs. I've said that twice now today. And definitely not the rabbit. Oh my God. which everybody is now referring to more as scammy than anything else. And more privacy, yes, please. Thank you very much. The only reason why Microsoft isn't taking more of your privacy away is because there were a significant enough amount of people that blasted them for the stupidity that is recall.
Yeah, I don't think that was very well received.
So it says another concern comes from a rumored feature on the Safari browser called Web Eraser. As reported by Apple Insider, the tool lets you take out any elements of a website like an ad. And Business Insider reports that a group of French publishers and advertisers are asking Tim Cook to halt deploying this tool because of how it could hurt publishers that rely on advertising for their business. It's not even out yet, and there's already a signed letter against it, so we'll have to see what that's all about. Yeah, I guess you're going to have to wait and see. And then they talk about hidden features in Windows 17, but I think that might be a separate article at this point.
Right. Well, it's interesting. Like some of the other stuff that has come out about Apple has matched up with what they've offered, right? Like the Apple Vision Pro information.
Sure. Yeah, but rumor mills are rumor mills, and eventually a broken clock is right twice a day. So, and some of this stuff is born from people that are insiders, like truly insiders that have such a strong relationship with people inside that it's almost like a given that the information that's being provided is almost a tactical leak, like to prepare society for this.
I think that's definitely the case.
Not to mention, there's a lot of producers of products that already know exactly what's coming out so that they can manufacture our product like a case or screen protectors or something. And it's nebulous enough that they don't know the specifics, but they know the design of the item and whatnot. That way they can have the product out on day one. But now cases are pretty generic because everything that's going inside the case, right? Like this knockout here on the case, I have to go here. The knockout on the case is big enough to manage the entirety of the cameras and stuff. I don't know. But all I do know is that there are thousands upon thousands of cases, apparently, probably tens of thousands or close to millions of cases that are thrown out because instead of it being 2.3 millimeters thick, it's 2.1 millimeters thick, and the case no longer fits. So they throw them out because they're never going to sell them. Lo and behold, you've got all of this waste. And it's because an entire universe, an omniverse of products and services orbit Apple products and services. So that's always unsettling, in the era of we need to minimize our plastic consumption. Every time Apple, which releases a new product pretty much every year, multiple products every year, it means that you have to throw out a bunch of stuff that isn't going to sell anymore.
Yeah, that's true. Well, also everybody else has to throw out other things, right? All the peripheral stuff that is from third parties.
Yep.
Like cases and everything.
Yeah, lightning connectors now because it's all USB-C chargers and stuff that may have been underpowered, no longer really like you can sit there and plug something in that's 10 amps and you have to sit there for it's just never going to work, or 10 watts. Anyway, let's keep going. I get distracted by stuff real easy. So the next article is over in ohmTown Daily. Here's an idea: a worldwide universal basic income paid for by a carbon tax. A study found that it could raise global GDP by 130%.
Wait, global? I think I misread this headline initially.
Yeah, and they want a worldwide universal basic income. So there's a carbon tax. Every business pays a carbon tax based on their carbon footprint. A study found that implementing a global universal basic income could boost global GDP by 130%, except that we are a global economy in the sense that we have various levels of exchange rates and costs of living. We don't have a unified fiscal instrument, so global GDP is kind of a woo-woo term.
Well, also like a global income is too, right? Because who would administer it? There's not really, I know there's these kind of voluntary organizations, etc., but it's not like there's a world government, for instance.
Not yet. Well, it depends on your conspiracy theories. What's really interesting about this is just kind of how disingenuous it truly is, because UBI, now let's assume that they go, okay, UBI in America is going to be different than UBI in Thailand, right? Let's say you go out to breakfast in your average town here in the United States, it's $20 per person. You take that $20 and you go to Thailand, you could sit there and have a field day with a night market. Absolute field day. Like, you could probably eat yourself into a food coma because you're stuffing so much food down your gullet for $20. It greater diversity and better flavor, it seems, based on everything that I've seen. I want to move to Thailand.
But doesn't that raise other questions about, like, would there be a global currency, or what happens to exchange rate? I mean, there's so many things intertwined with that, unless it's just going to be administered in each country.
Yeah, as per the country's unit of measurement. But a UBI level of currency in one country isn't the same in another country, but that means that each country has its own denomination for the UBI income amounts. So it's not really going to change much.
True, and then also, is it taxed accordingly, like differently? And then do taxes in one support another? And then what do you do with countries that maybe are not too willing to participate? North Korea.
Yeah. And I don't believe for a moment that it's going to be poverty free, because a person that receives the money that pulls them out of poverty is going to spend it on the material that affords them the ability to survive, which is absolutely the purpose of UBI. But there's going to be somebody else that's like, oh, look, there's more money in the system. Let's drain their pockets. Thank you. And they already have a ton of money, so it's not a burden on them to increase profits, right? It's a tax on the customer, and that customer is the person that's getting UBI. Eventually, businesses are going to figure out just exactly what that UBI level is and raise prices. We're seeing it already because there's an infusion of money from the federal government in the form of stimulus in various ways. And so the suppliers, the core root material suppliers, are raising their rates, so the initial purchase is higher. And then the manufacturers from the raw materials start raising their prices, and intermediate steps start raising their prices, and items are getting smaller, so you're getting less for more. So researchers behind the newly published study called Utilizing Basic Income to Create a Sustainable Poverty-Free Tomorrow outlined how universal basic income could provide a two-pronged solution. So the article is over at Business Insider. Katie Belvick is the author. And let's see what they say here. Basic income programs gain traction post-pandemic to address high unemployment. And the Universal Basic Income Program, or UBI, would provide regular cash payments to everyone. So by everyone, do they mean even the people who already have a means that exceeds UBI level?
Exactly. And should that include them? Should it not? There's probably different points of view on that.
Yeah. They say they must concede that the U.S. may be the last place to engage with our proposal for all sorts of reasons, Sumela told Business Insider, but the situation may not persist forever, as there are indications that Gen Z and millennials seem to care relatively more about tackling both climate change and inequality than older Americans. And I think that's because older Americans tend, at least in my observation, to be sociopathic, particularly in the income wealth scale, or just wealth. So there's income and then there's wealth. And yeah, it's quite a conversation that I've been having with people about this. So one representative in Iowa, which moved to ban such programs, called it socialism on steroids. In other parts of the world, however, the idea enjoys wide political support. South Africa is on track to be the first country to adopt a universal basic income. But South Africa also has to contend with periodic outages of power.
Yeah, it has infrastructure problems.
And
at minimum, I don't know everything about South Africa.
Yeah, it's quite fascinating. So where is the money coming from that's going to be supporting universal basic income if the lights can't stay on?
Exactly.
One solution would be another article that we're going to talk about, not in this show, but in one of the other ones later today, is the efficiency of solar cells. I know that one of the streamers that I watch here on Twitch, Dunkstar, and their co-host Timeless_exe, they live in South Africa, and they have solar panels and inverters, and so when the power goes out, as long as they've got sun and or battery storage, they can continue to operate, whereas others cannot. But these new solar panels that are coming out actually have 20% plus efficiency, but we'll talk about them when we get to it. But that would be the solution for a lot of people in South Africa if it wasn't for the fact that solar panels are wildly expensive and actually toxic on the destruction side.
Right. Well, and also on the collection of material side sometimes.
Yeah. So it's basically a hot mess all around. So in theory, it's a beautiful idea to use basic income to help people sustain nature, boost the economy. It has nothing to do with sustaining nature. Giving people money so that they can consume is not a sustaining nature thing. Teaching somebody how to grow crops in their backyard so that they have a sustainable system for food. Like I grow microgreens here in ohmTown, but it's really expensive to grow hydroponically lettuce and other materials, other plants. And that's what I do. Microgreens are great nutrition, but to grow them inside using hydroponics, you need powerful lights, and those lights translate into expensive power bills. Anyway, it seems possible to raise a big chunk of the funds needed to do this by taxing CO2 emitters, degraders of biodiversity, overfishers, deforesters, plastic polluters, oil spillers, and agricultural sectors. But that's just going to translate into higher bills when you start punishing people.
Yeah, I mean, I like the sound of this, but there's a lot of things that need to be worked out, and the money is still going to be the money, right? Yeah. Like you said, they're going to raise prices, etc.
Yeah, and they're the ones that are providing the services. So it's not like you have the ability to balk. Oh, well, I'm not going to use this. At some point, you have to use this, that, or the other, right? Through mergers and acquisitions, very few are providing a lot. It's basically the Pareto principle, 80-20. Yeah.
Well, absolutely. And some of the basic things, right? I mean, people can't go without those. So that's where, to me, they're really locked in, right? If it's something discretionary, that's one thing. But if it's something like their energy, there's probably one supplier of that.
Yeah. Particularly here in the United States or in other countries, they don't have the ability to tap into some other regional power system. competition for power to lower prices. That's absurd. You have regional monopolies that are endorsed by the state or federal government and or both. So, and that happens with other things. There are certain businesses that seem to be able to get past the regulatory bodies, and then there are some that, sorry, you're not allowed to do that merger because of competition. Yet the other company that is being protected from that lack of merger, they're gobbling up companies left and right because it's not their fault yet, right? And it never seems to be. So anyway, let's keep walking through ohmTown and looking at all of these articles. The next article is over on the Hetch Ideas channel, which is all about business transformation and intellectual property development. The 5 places with the world's longest living people, not longest people, but the longest living people, all have this in common. They give 0 shits about your attitude. No, I have no idea. I figured that people who just don't.
I actually looked ahead at this one. I was just curious about it. So I
Oh, really? Yeah. Is that why you're here in your time travel? You came back in time to observe certain elements of human society? And
I mean, there's definitely some sociological experiments that need to happen.
I don't know if I'm glad that I've got you encased in that skiff. That way you can't get out there and do these things. It's like you might want to be meta, emotional contagion and manipulate society. Is that what's going on? I don't know.
I think that's kind of offensive.
Oh, okay. Well, then I apologize. I mean, I figured that you're observing us at the minimum. So, but you said experiment, so made me worry. So it may be the tranquilizing effect of water, or it may be that the climate is moderated because of water, says longevity expert Dan Bwetner. I'm going to say Bwetner. I want to say Butner, but that might be offensive. Anyway, Renee on Q over at cnbc.com put the article together. It says, after 20 years of interviewing centenarians, olds, and visiting blue zones, the areas in the world where people tend to live the longest, Dan Bwetner learned something that he didn't expect. I'm going to say being stressed out of your freaking mind shortens your lifespan.
Probably so.
But, when you take worldwide data on happiness and you control for everything else, you find out that people who live next to water are happier than people who don't. Well, there's living near water and then the water coming up and living near you.
Yeah, like I can think of some areas where they've had flooding, and that might not be relaxing for people.
So Okinawa, Japan, Sardinia, Italy, Loma Linda, California, Icaria, Greece, Nicoya, Costa Rica are on the water, and while there are various theories about why this is the case, the end result is clear. They live longer. So
that's interesting. 5 out of 5. I mean, there may be something to it. It might be correlative, not causal.
Yeah, so what is going on there? It says Bwetner themselves lives in Miami Beach and says geography plays a big factor in his well-being, but it's not so much about the water per se. Instead, he credits the appealing location and weather with helping him live a healthy lifestyle. Okay, so you can have a healthy lifestyle anywhere. It really depends on how much you dedicate to it.
Right. So then that would undercut that the environment is actually contributing to it, right?
Yeah, but all of these are by the water. So what is the purpose of this article, damn it?
Environment, but it suggests that the environment is actually contributing to it, not just making it possible.
Okay. Find me an area where it doesn't have any of the water, but has all of the other elements, and test for this. How long do the people live in these other areas? Pick 5. I know not you, sentient AI from the future, but is this really... It seems anecdotal. He aims for daily movement, doing activities he enjoys, including stand-up paddle surfing or lower intensity exercises like walking. The key is not intense physical activity, no pain, no gain. The opposite is true. Wetner says, when there's no pain, there's gain, because when there's no pain, you're more likely to do it every day. Okay. How long did I spend on this article? Can't get that time back. I'm not even... Okay, so if you are out there and listening to this, please come and hang out and post your observation about that article into the chat. I would love to hear your perception of basically a long-winded way of saying you don't stress about stuff, you're going to live longer. That's kind of the no shit news of the episode. So, and we know this from other scientific data, scientific measures, sociological observations, that when you don't have to worry about where your next meal comes from, you learn better. When you don't have to worry about where you're living, or if somebody's gonna beat you up on the way home, you have greater safety and security for food and shelter and study and personal growth and getting the hell out of wherever you are and bettering your life when you don't have to worry about stuff. That is a fact demonstrated time and time again. So yeah. Anyway, this article though has nothing to do with it. I was talking about the last article about blue zones. Yeah. No brain, no pain, all gain. Anyway, Japan's latest plan to reverse declining birth rate. Japan is currently experiencing depopulation issues as the country's birth rate falls for the 8th year in a row. We've actually talked about this over the last 2.5 years, that they are actually on the precipice of not being able to recover because their replacement ratio is not adequate enough to have people old enough to take care of the older people, and thus there isn't going to be a recycling of the infrastructure. There won't be people that are skilled in the art and capable of working in the industries that will drive the economic systems. Now, this might be all doom and gloom, but it's not for me. It's there's YouTube videos that talk about it,
statistics
and research
about it, right?
Yep, and research papers that have been published about it. You have to have basically 2.5 people for every couple that has kids. You have to have 2.5 people, because one for each of the people that's replaced and a half person for accidents. So get that chainsaw out and start cutting people. No?
No, let's not do that.
Don't do the chainsaw part. Okay, got it. So Japan's plan to reverse declining birth rate is an article over in Newsweek by Ewan Palmer, I think it is. The proposal arrives as Japan is experiencing record lows for year-end birth rates. The Health, Labor, and Welfare Ministry announced the number of newborn Japanese babies in 2023 was 727,277, down 5.6%, 43,482 births from 2022. This has been part of a trend that has seen the number of children born in Japan fall every year since 2015.
I mean, that's a pretty sizable drop.
Yeah, it's pretty significant, almost 6%. So if the trend continues, Japan's current population of more than 125 million people is projected to fall by about 30 to 87 million by 2070, with around 4 out of every 10 being 65 years of age or older. This is what I was talking about. Now, they don't actually seem to talk about the replacement rate here. They talk about child care not being covered under Japanese medical insurance. It sets the cost for childbirth care, will also help cover discrepancies between various payments in different parts of the country. Capital of Tokyo, the average cost is reported to be about $3,900 for childcare. In Kumamoto, a city in the southwestern Japanese island of Kyushu, the average childbirth is 360,000 yen, or half the cost of the childbirth in Tokyo. But that's pretty shocking, actually, it seems. In the big city, it's that much more. But who knows?
But it seems like everybody's paying it out of pocket.
Yeah. What's the survival rate, right? What in this city is the survival rate of childbirth dramatically lower versus in the city where there's higher tech, perhaps? I don't know. Overall population of the East Asian country, the number of births subtracted by the number of deaths, also fell by 848,659 people in 2023, the largest decline ever recorded. So almost 1 million people. The overall population declined by almost 1 million people. That is insane.
Well, and that's going to have that's going to have an exponential effect.
Yeah, because there's 1 million less people.
I guess that explains the high drops or the low drops, however you want to say it.
And so if you keep having that 1 million person decline, because it's not really 1 million, but it's close enough that I'm rounding up to 1 million. Over 10 years, you're talking about 10 million people declining from a population of 120 million. So almost a 10% decline.
Right, but it's going to be more than that, because then those people that aren't there aren't going to have kids themselves, right?
Correct. Yeah. So maybe you do some nutty thing like, I don't know, force people to have kids, which has happened in other countries, and it didn't quite work out well. But we won't get into all of that. I guess the plan is to what? Offset the costs?
Well, it's for childcare costs and then childbirth costs.
Right. That may not be the reason.
We saw another article. Remember, there was an article, something about like the transportation or something.
That was getting
on
people,
the same issue.
Bringing young people to gatherings to meet in the big cities.
Oh, that's what it was. Yes.
To promote people having tea. I'll just say that. Let's keep going. The next article is over in ohmTown Daily, where I get a little snarky. Sorry, folks. Even Wyoming, parts of Wyoming want to get out of Wyoming and maybe modernize. A large chunk of Wyoming's Teton Pass. It's like the Tetons, right? That's how it's pronounced.
Yeah, the mountains.
Yeah. And if you haven't seen this, it's quite fascinating. They made a shortcut going through the Tetons. And it shortens the commute from one location to another by 2 hours. And in doing so, basically made this a heavily trafficked location. And the big city has people commute this 45-minute drive that gets turned into 2 hours when, I don't know, the road is ill-kept, poorly engineered, and shaves itself off the mountainside. So let's take a look at it. A large chunk of the Mountain Pass Highway in Wyoming has collapsed, severing a well-traveled commuter link between small towns in eastern Idaho and the tourist destination of Jackson. It's a Jackson Hole, actually. So, yeah. There we go. That's the road. It's almost like
that's way beyond the road falling.
Oh, yeah. The whole thing just gave away right up to the edge. What's weird is that on the other side of this is a groomed road. Not a groomed road, but a groomed hill. So on the other side of the road, it's shaved down. So the road is sitting on the top of a peak that goes around a bend. And lo and behold, what gave way is from the far side of the road on the peak down. It has to be 60 feet. But that other side hasn't given way yet. So
right.
yeah, it's like a pyramid, and on top of the pyramid is the road. And so like 80% of the pyramid has been wiped away. So aerial photographs and drone video of the collapse show the Teton Pass, or Teton. I have a hard time saying Teton Pass road, riven with deep cracks, and a big section of the pavement disappeared altogether. Part of the guardrail dangled into the void, and orange traffic drums marked off the danger area. I actually saw a video of somebody walking up to the edge of this to film down into the hole. Unbelievable stones that somebody has to have, because I would not trust this. But they were
all
really
it could take
close.
is a minor shift for the rest of it to go.
Yeah. So geologists and engineers who were sent to the area that day noticed that crack and that drop started to move a lot, said Stephanie Harsha, a spokesperson for District 3 of the Wyoming Department of Transportation. A paving crew temporarily patched the road, and traffic began moving again that night. But that was short-lived, as maintenance crews were sent to respond to a mudslide a couple of miles away in the pre-dawn hours of Friday, prompting the road to be closed again. So apparently it just gave way. Harsha said an alternate route between Jackson and the area of Victor, Idaho, goes more than 60 miles out of the way and adds quite a bit to any commute. Yeah.
Yeah, but if it doesn't involve falling off a cliff, it might be good.
You know what? You and your silver lining. Let's keep going. Now, wait, let me back up. So in some places, this would be fixed in like 15 minutes, it seems. I don't know how long this is going to take.
Right. I mean, this is probably going to be months, right?
This is this huge hill that just sheared away.
Right. So are they going to rebuild the hill, or are they going to reroute the road? Like, they're going to have to do something drastic.
Yeah, what are they going to do? I do not see how they're going to fix this road very quickly, because they're going to have to find a way to make this secure enough for dump trucks to drive up the road to fill this hole up. They're going to have to put in like
structural supports or something.
Yeah, walls, like steel walls, and then backfill it so that, and then hope that it doesn't give way again, because those structures have to hit something solid like bedrock, and there's no bedrock down there apparently, because it gave away for, again,
it looks
like 60
pretty
feet.
From the photo. It looks sandy, kind of.
It has nothing to do with any of this. Why are you playing that? Come on, ABC News. Did I say where this is from? ABC News, Associated Press. What a dumb article. All right, I'm moving on. Next article is over on ohmTown Daily. OpenAI seems to be hiring undercover security guards at its office, and it's creeping out local business owners. Not sure why it would. OpenAI's office in San Francisco is crawling with undercover security guards that don't take kindly to questions, locals say, and employees at neighboring businesses say it's weirding them out. What? Why would anybody care that they've got private security?
I don't know why that's such a big issue.
Yeah, I don't get it either. So let's go and look. Maybe Kenneth Niemeyer has stumbled across enough articles that kind of enumerate what's going on. So an entrance to OpenAI offices located at, well, let's tell everybody where it is. I mean, it's not that hard to find it, but man, I feel weird saying it out loud. California law requires unarmed security guards to disclose license info to law enforcement. Okay, but strangers asking them questions doesn't mean jack. I don't have to tell you anything. Photographers for the San Francisco Standard, an online local news outlet, said they recently noticed what looked like undercover security guards standing outside the company's office. A photo of one suspected security guard published by the outlet shows a man wearing a black baseball cap, sunglasses, and a clear earpiece. Okay. They're still an individual, and they're still a private individual. Are you posting their freaking picture everywhere and doxing them? Come on.
Yeah, I just don't really get that.
So owners at nearby businesses like Candace Combs of In Symmetry Spa told the Standard that the men would not tell her who they worked for or which company worked out of the building where they lingered. I asked, is this OpenAI? And they were like, we can't say, Combs told the outlet. I was like, well, see, they're saying like, I was like, well, I know you're OpenAI. We're a spa that does massages, and here's a coupon for 10% off. So it's like an open secret. So then why are you asking? If everybody knows what the hell it is, why are you sitting there asking?
Exactly.
I mean, you're basically looking for a problem. You know, you're picking a fight and then saying, here's some massages for 10% off. If that's creeping you out, why would you give them a massage? Why would you give them a 10% off discount? You think that they're going to come in for a massage? Ian Langlands, a cashier at a pet store just one block from the office, told the Standard that the vibe surrounding the OpenAI office is secretive. Well, no shit. Most businesses that actually are doing cutting edge research and development,
yeah, they have to be, right?
Become secretive. You know, I'm not running around telling everybody, hey, this is what I'm doing. Although I am here.
You know, I think part of the thing is here, OpenAI has no reason it can't be in with other businesses, but I think some companies avoid this issue by having a separate campus.
Sure. Yeah. The Bureau told the Standard that unarmed security guards don't have to wear a uniform or a badge, but they must be employed by a security guard company, lawful business, or public agency, and must disclose their license information to law enforcement, nobody else. And if people are standing around, honestly, if there are people standing around, other businesses are less likely to be harassed.
I was actually going to say it's a benefit to those other businesses that aren't paying for security.
Correct. Because if you've ever seen like a jewelry store that is post-robbery, post-crime scene, they hire private security. And if you go and talk to the other shop owners, they'll tell you that because there is armed security there, if the armed security is actually acting like armed security and not, I don't know, somebody of ill repute. I don't even know what that would qualify as. But if they weren't acting all shady, the knock-on is that people don't sit there and mess around other businesses because there's armed security just a lead throw away, I mean, think about it. But if they're acting creepy, that's one thing. I don't know. I think the creepiest thing about this is people trying to ping these private security.
Exactly. Let's draw extra attention to them. The other thing is, if you're a security guard, your job does not involve chatting with people walking down the street. I'm assuming it's to watch out for anything out of the ordinary.
Yeah, I'm just hanging out. I'm waiting for somebody to pick me up. Well, you've been here for 8 hours. Yeah, they're a really slow driver. Anyway, let's keep going. Last article for ohmTown Daily News Show is over in ohmTown Daily. How apropos. As the need for copper rises, Merawatt costs. Cable manufacturers recycle more. In an industrial suburb of Montreal, sheets of copper move along a conveyor belt suspended 4 stories above the floor of a foundry, a metals plant, until they drop into a flaming hot magma. I had to say it. Jennifer McDermott from Associated Press put the article together for abcnews.go.com. That's the video. If I click that, it's going to play something that's not even related to it.
Probably so.
I'm going to try. Yep.
Nope.
So dumb. Why load that stupid thing up, man? Just play the little snippet. Put an ad somewhere else and put the snippet somewhere else. Ugh. Anyway, out of the furnace comes liquid copper, alight with green fire. It travels to a second furnace, and from there, a river of orange copper flows out to be shaped, molded into copper rods, a raw material for copper wire. Anyway, this is Nexon's mill. Has made a copper rod from ore for nearly a century, but now it also makes increasing amount of it from used copper, with the rods containing some 14% recycled metal, and it hopes to get to 20%. You have to worry about slag, and that excess material causes impurities. If you have too many impurities in your copper, then it actually corrodes over time simply by electrons flowing through them. If there's any impurities, it can cause corruption. So we say to our customers, your waste of today is your scrap of today. Wait, your waste of today, your scrap of today is your energy of tomorrow. So bring back your scrap. You know, that rolls off the tongue so well. I'm surprised
it's not from the brochure. Although maybe it is, because it says we say to our customers.
You say that to your customers? How have you been in business this long? That marketing is so kludgy. I have to explain it to the sentient AI who knows exactly what I'm talking about, and it still doesn't make any sense.
You don't need to explain it, but I get it.
I know. That's
it's not the smoothest marketing speak.
I said, you know exactly what I'm talking about, and it still doesn't make any sense. Even though you know exactly what it means. It still doesn't make any sense. That's how confusing that was. It was like I was talking about that thing earlier today in the time machine. There's things that we know about. There's things that we don't know about.
Known unknowns.
There's unknown unknowns. And then there's the eldritch horrors of American politics. So every ton of copper that's recycled means some 200 tons of rock that won't need to be mined, though the amount depends on how rich the ore is. Oh, look, it's 6:03. No shit news again. We had 2 in this show. That's important because mining can cause erosion, contaminate soil and water, threaten local biodiversity. All of that does happen. It's not can, it does. Copper is especially a good candidate for reuse because it can be recycled indefinitely without losing its value or performance, Garen says, as long as the impurities are weeded out. Same thing as glass. I think everybody should switch over to glass from plastic, but that's impossible. I've got 2 bottles of plastic sitting here within arm's reach because you can't buy anything in glass with any volume. You know, I spend the same amount of money on 8 ounces of a liquid in a glass bottle that I get 24 ounces in a plastic bottle.
Exactly. Everybody's incentivized to use plastic.
And it's horrible. Horrible. But I am switching to this stuff. That's
plastic.
It's new. No, this is actually. Oh wait, no, this is paper. But I think it's paper. Holy crap! I don't know what it's in. I know that the lid is plastic. I'm gonna shut up. Anyway, Noon, N-U-N. They're little tablets that you put in water, and then I fill up a ball jar with ice and water and throw one of those in, and I don't worry about plastic so much. But it's N-U-U-N, and so I say it's none of your business what I'm drinking. None ya. Anyway, so copper is being recycled, aluminum should be recycled, glass should be recycled. Plastic, on the other hand, is a nightmare. Because it actually off-gasses when you're trying to recycle it. And it's not good for you. It's not good for the environment. It turns into microplastics. No matter what you do with it, you don't end up with micro glass. You don't end up with micro aluminum. You end up with oxides and stuff like that from copper or whatever. But yeah, roughly 2/3 of all copper produced in the last century is still in use, mostly for electrical grids, home appliances, communications, according to the International Copper Association. When those get past their useful life, they're an enormous stock that can be recycled in the future, although it tends to be kind of messy to get to it because e-waste is the source of the copper recovery.
Well, yeah, and who knows what chemicals are used in this process.
Yeah, so, and one of the big things is wiring, and pulling the copper out of the wire is actually it's a messy enterprise, because the protective sleeving over the copper cable means you have to use a little knife and pull the protective layer off, and then that protective layer is
plastic
or rubber or
it's everywhere.
Some other petroleum product. Yeah, it's a hot mess. Anyway, God, I don't know. That's all of that. Okay, so that's it for today's ohmTown Daily News Show. So we're going to hop on our copper cables, because ohmTown is nothing more than a little hotspot of resistance in the wires of the internet, where all roads from the internet lead to ohmTown's main street. So we race down, we whack that welcome sign. I'm not going to do it because I don't know what's on the front page just yet. I guess I could look on another browser and see, but I'm being told by the sentient AI from the future to hell no. Anyway, that's it for today. I am Mayor Watt. The sentient AI is keeping me out of... I have to lean over. The sentient AI...
Up here.
Up there. From the future.
Good night, ohmTown citizens. Good night, ohmTown citizens. We will see you shortly for our weekly episodes.
Yeah, too late. I already played the exit. Bye.